So welcome to the NC Event Media Team Editor Cooperation module. This module is mostly going to focus on providing tips and best practices on how to avoid potential conflicts in your future experiences as an editor, as an NC, or HO, whatever. Just to give you some tips and guidelines on how you can smooth out communication and avoid possible conflicts. That the main takeaway is that, of course, communication is key. Whether you're a media team member that needs something from the organizing team, whether you're an editor that wants something for the media team, whether you're an HO trying to cater to their needs, NC, whatever, communicate. Don't just come up with a demand, hey, we need this and this tomorrow, etc. Plan, like if you're an editor, plan ahead, think what you're gonna need, what you're gonna want, and forward those requests ahead of time to the organizing team so they have ample time to try to get that if you need it. Because while they might be able to get something if you tell them 2-3 weeks ahead of time, they might not be able to get it the same day because just they have other obligations towards the session, and so they can't spare anybody to send on a, let's say, wild goose chase to get a random item an immediate team member might need for a project, while they could have gotten that when they were getting everything else 2-3 weeks ahead of session during session prep. Or also if you're an HO and you have no idea, like you've never been maybe a media team member, you've never been in the media team, and you really don't have any clue what are the needs of the media team, like ask your editor. So just tell them, hey, I've never been in a media team, so just tell me, like, while we don't have venues and anything, what do you guys need? Like, what would you like to have for a media room? What are the materials you guys are gonna need, so we can plan ahead? And then, for example, you're not going to be seeing situations where, for example, the media team has to work from cafes because the room they got doesn't have any electrical outlets, so they can't use their laptops because they're all going to, the batteries are going to run out because they don't have anywhere to charge it, or because they don't have adequate Wi-Fi in the room they were provided, so they have to share mobile data with one another. This is all something that can potentially be avoided if it's communicated ahead of time. If you tell them, hey, we are going to need Wi-Fi, or you as the HO ask, hey, are you guys going to need strong Wi-Fi? So we know, is that something we should look for in the venues? Or how, like, do we need to buy extension cords so you guys can plug in all your electrical devices and charge them up during the session? So just communicate, and you can avoid a lot of potential conflict there that can arise later on because somebody assumed that something would be provided, or somebody assumed something wouldn't be needed. And because of that, then all-out chaos can ensue, and just conflict between the teams, which is never a good thing. Conflict is never productive. So just communicate whatever your role is, be it you as a media team member communicating to your editor what your needs are going to be for your media project, be it you're an editor communicating your needs as an editor as well as your media team's needs to the HO, or you're just as the HO asking what do you need. Same goes if you're a session president or you communicate with the session president. Like, you as the editor can ask, okay, so hey, how would you like us guys to approach entering committee rooms, for example, so you don't have any situations where you have a chair complaining that a media team member is disruptive, because you've already had a conversation with the MTMs about what's their conduct supposed to be when they enter committee rooms, and so nobody has a problem there. So just remember, plan ahead and communicate, and you can avoid the 99% of the conflict that you've perhaps seen at sessions happen between teams. So that ties into what I was already talking about a bit. Understand each other's roles. So whether you're an organizer, a head organizer, president, chair, media team member, EA, editor, doesn't matter. Have an appreciation for other people's duties at the session. So for example, if you're an editor, Don't just be like, oh, you haven't provided me with what I need. Maybe the organizers tried to handle your requests, but they simply couldn't make them. Uh, they couldn't get, for example, maybe a venue with strong internet or whatever, and it's not their fault. They tried. Or same way if you're an HO and the editor comes in and says, "Hey, your organizers are being disruptive for some media projects. Can you please quiet them down?" Or like, "Oh, they're just taking a break." Like, if the editor is approaching you, it's probably because the media team members can't finish their projects because the organizers are being disruptive. And like maybe you wouldn't know that because you haven't been in the media team, but it's something that you should appreciate because again, you don't know what somebody else needs, and communicating that clearly and understanding each other's roles can lead to avoiding a lot of potential conflict that can just be needlessly started by people assuming what others' roles are, as well as assuming things in communication rather than communicating those things clearly. So you as a chair, for example, communicating with your media team member, "Hey, so right now we're doing brainstorming or whatever. Uh, I can't really spare any delegates. I want to get this deal started off, but later on, I'll get you to your project right away." Also, you as the media team member saying, "Hey, like I would really like to get the delegates in the first 2 days. It's gonna be a bit tight if I get them later on. Just try to compromise and communicate, because what can happen sometimes is like the DMTM asks, "Hey, can I have some of your delegates?" The chair says, "Yeah, sure, later," and that later never comes. Or that the media team member is really pushy. "Hey, I need them now, I need them now, I need them now." And then the chair is like, approaches the president, "Hey, I'm having a disruptive MTM," whatever. And so there can be a lot of like little things that can add up, and just communicating and understanding where the other person is coming from can go a long way to preventing potential conflict that can happen. No example, you've probably seen at least one of those situations come up here, especially since those are situations that usually happen at a lower level events where everybody is less experienced and they haven't really just been able to, through experience, gain the knowledge that you're getting here. Like I got that experience through knowledge. Like I didn't start editing and be like, "Oh, I know what everybody needs and what everybody wants because I've had 1,000 editings before and I've resolved all these conflicts." No. Um, so tying into the next part, be reasonable again. So like you as the HO or you as the editor for this instance specifically, like know what is reasonable to ask of the organizing team and of the academic team and what is not. For example, like if everybody is going to a school that doesn't have great connection, you can't be like, "Oh, we need strong internet to upload." Like, yeah, we understand. Yeah, like the HO is gonna understand, but like it's not you that is exclusively in that situation. Everybody's unhappy with having, for example, a venue that doesn't have strong internet, right? And it would be a bit unreasonable perhaps to be like, then, "Oh, it's important to," yes, we understand, but like you can always do uploads later if you can secure a secondary venue that has good internet. For example, if you book a hostel or a hotel that has strong internet, and then maybe during the day they can't upload, but they can do uploads during the night. Or for example, a media team member needing something really specific for a media project, like sure, if it's something that's reasonable, yeah, but like if it's a 20-30 euro prop for a media project, and they're expecting the session to cover it, that might be a bit of an unreasonable request, that you're asking the session to spend 20 to 30 euros just for a prop you're going to use in your project for the session. Like if the session has money, I think they would provide it. You can communicate that, but you shouldn't expect them to buy it just because you're asking it. It would be, let's say, a commodity or a privilege if they were able to afford it. and just coming into a session with that mindset, what is reasonable to expect and what isn't reasonable to expect, can also go a long way to avoiding conflicts, because people's usually get into conflict over a difference in expectation. So, as I mentioned, setting clear expectations is something that leads to better cooperation with throughout all the teams, because everybody knows what's exactly going on and therefore can clearly communicate to their team members what they can and can't do, what they should and shouldn't do, leading to an overall smooth experience in cooperating with other teams. So, for example, if you were an HO, you would talk to your and set clear definitions on what you can and can't provide, both to the media team as a whole, and to individual media team members regarding their projects, etc. So they already coming into the session know what is reasonable to expect, what they'll get, what they can get, and then if they really want to do something, like should they get that on their own, or can they expect the session to provide that. On the other side, coming as the media team, I have already told that. So just communicating your needs and wishes before the session can be a huge difference in what you can and can't expect at the session. Like if you think of something last minute, the organizing team has already a lot of responsibilities during the session, so they might not be able to go to a shop to get something that you need for your media project, or that you as the editor want to do with the media team. But while, for example, if you do that 2-3 weeks ahead of time, and when they're going to go get materials for the session anyways, they might be able to get that if they find it. So again, clear expectations, setting what you would want to see, what you wouldn't want to see, can lead to good cooperation, because you already know you're coming in to the session knowing what to expect. And coming into the last part, like defining your output plan as the editor, this goes mostly into your cooperation with the media team. If you define your output plan early on, your media team can already expect what they can or can't do, for example, as projects, or what would work better, what wouldn't work really well. And that ties into the last module I had, which is balancing ownership and quality. This is another way you can potentially already set expectations about how much ownership you're going to give people over their projects, and what degree of quality you're expecting from each project. So as you set the expectation, they know what they should provide and what they can and can't do, and you're just gonna potentially have less conflict over, for example, a media team sticking to a potential idea, or them forcing something, as well as maybe just somebody not knowing what to do, because as they see the output plan, they might get an idea.